What is going on, traders? Welcome back to the Traveling Trader. Happy Thursday to you. In pretty big news for crypto, Qtum has surged on news that Apple Pay and Samsung Pay have accepted it as a currency that you're able to use on those two platforms. However, if you read a little bit into the story, it's not like Qtum is directly integrated with Apple Pay or Samsung Pay. It is through the Zoox payment app. I mean, it's still a pretty big deal because it's not like there are other cryptocurrencies that have been accepted. I don't know why Qtum has been singled out and not, something like Litecoin or one of the privacy coins or whatever. But, that's still pretty big news for crypto. In terms of official launch, it's only been launched in the UK, and the soft launch to the rest of the EU is imminent. However, for the US, this is something that hasn't been announced yet. So that's pretty big news for Qtum and for crypto in general. We'll go over Qtum in a second and how that affected Qtum's price. But let us take a look at BTC, since that is the topic of the day, as it is the topic of most days if you're talking about crypto. There are some conflicting signals, right? Everyone wants to know, is Bitcoin bullish or bearish? There are conflicting signals, but what you want is you want to basically collect all of your signals and determine whether it is overwhelmingly bullish or overwhelmingly bearish. And a lot of times your signals will end up with a neutral bias, right? But I was actually studying the weekly chart for Bitcoin today, and I studied it pretty in depth, looking at the 1 week chart. And the reason is because of this death cross that you see here, right? This isn't the ultimate death cross, which is between the 50 and the 200, but this is between the 50 and the 100. And the 50 has crossed underneath the 100, which is usually a bearish sign. In terms of the 200, it is keeping its head above water, right? Bitcoin is keeping its head above water. This isn't necessarily bullish. Just surviving is not a bullish trend, but it is good that, we are still above the 200, because I think a fall below the 200 would be detrimental for Bitcoin's price. The MACD is trending upwards positively for the first time in a long time, right? It's been a while since the MACD has crossed over and is trended upwards in this fashion. Not since, the middle of 2017 has that happened. The RSI has a lot of room to grow, as well as the stochastic. But let's talk about this right here, this crossover between the 50 and the 100. Is this truly bearish? Well, let's look at the last time that it happened. So the last time that the 50 crossed below the 100 was back in May of 2015. The price of Bitcoin right around this time, during this week, was around $240. Okay, so you would expect there to be a decline thereafter. However, since the 50 crossed below the 100 on the weekly, it lasted almost a year, actually a little over a year. And it was May 2016 before the 50 crossed the 100 in a positive fashion once again. And so what happened to the price? Well, instead of declining, we traded sideways for quite a few weeks, but the price actually went from 240 in, April, May of 2015 to, by the time that it crossed over, we were already above $500. So the price more than doubled ever since the 50 fell below the 100. So in this case, the worst case scenario for Bitcoin was trading sideways for a rather long time before starting to gradually move up. And that could be the case here, right? So if you look at the price of Bitcoin now, we're currently at, 38.49, 38.50, let's just call it that. And the price or the 50-week moving average fell below the 100-week moving average. Now, it's not necessary that we'll start to tank. We could trade sideways still between this range that we see here, between 3,200 and 4,200 for a few more weeks before starting to gradually move up. Another thing that I wanted to bring your attention to is the stochastic RSI. So if you look at the stochastic RSI, it appears oversold at the moment, even though I really hate those terms. It's a very beginner, rudimentary reading of these indicators. But, it's currently above the 80 range, while the 50 falls below the 100 week, right? So if we go back to that time that we talked about in April, May of 2015, the stochastic RSI was also above the 80. So a lot of people think that, if the stochastic RSI is in the oversold territory, that we will see a major decline from that. And we haven't. Like I said, the price of Bitcoin traded sideways for a very long time, for a few weeks before, or a few months, I should say, before gradually increasing and doubling in price after at that point when the 50 and the 100 crossed again in a positive trend. So just because we're oversold on the stochastic RSI and the 50 falls below the 100 doesn't mean that it is necessarily going to decline in price. A bearish trend could still be sideways trading for months on end after a major decline. So I just want to bring your attention to it. It's not necessary that we'll see a major decline from that. Now, in terms of trading Bitcoin, as I've said before in many videos, I'm currently off of trading. Bitcoin to me is off limits in terms of swing trading. Like, there's no need to swing trade Bitcoin for a few reasons. One is this range right here is super tight. There's no volatility here for me to take advantage of in either direction, right? And it's trading within this really tight range. This is actually more of an ascending triangle here because it is making higher lows. But yeah, so there's no reason for me to swing trade Bitcoin. And because Bitcoin is the market mover, it's kind of the index, the unofficial index for the crypto market. You can trade other coins based off of what Bitcoin is doing. So when Bitcoin is in this stagnant channel here, like it's been, since November, you can trade other coins in respect to Bitcoin. So if we take a look at Litecoin, for instance, and we've sent trade alerts for the coins that I'm about to talk about. So if you want access to the trade alerts, link is in the description. But ever since Bitcoin has been, in this tight channel here, right, since November, December of 2018, Litecoin has actually increased over 140%, right? So here's Litecoin's price in December. We entered at 31, but the low here was around $22. So Litecoin actually increased 149% since Bitcoin has been, stagnating in this channel with no volatility, really. BNB, another one that, since November, December has increased, and now we are up 205% on BNB since Bitcoin started stagnating. So there are many other things that you can trade besides Bitcoin and take advantage of Bitcoin's low volatility range. Now, if Bitcoin does fall below the 200-week moving average, for instance, and starts tanking, then yes, that will most likely bring down the entire market. But as long as Bitcoin is trading within a relatively narrow range with low volatility, you can take advantage of other altcoins that are moving independently of Bitcoin's price. We always talk about Bitcoin, being the market dictator. And if Bitcoin, goes up, the market eventually goes up. If Bitcoin goes down, the market eventually goes down. But really, coins are moving independently, with major moves taking place, with Litecoin up 149% and BNB up, over 200%. While Bitcoin is really doing nothing. So, and that's not to mention, Engine, RVN, BTT, tokens that we've made triple-digit percentage profits from. So in conclusion, just because we have this, 50 and 100 death cross here, does not necessarily mean the price will start tanking thereafter. As I demonstrated, back in 2015, the price actually doubled over the span of a year after this so-called death cross happened. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but based off of precedents, based off of history, which is the best indication we have of future events, you can better prepare for potential market movements. Now, I mentioned Qtum earlier, at the beginning of the video because of the partnership with Samsung Pay and Apple Pay. And you'll see here that this candle right here with the large wick, this is obviously due to that news. That pump was due to that news. However, we're seeing more and more that good news, no matter whether it's a Coinbase listing or something like this being integrated into major mobile phone manufacturers, it's not really having a long-term effect on price like we thought. So if you look at Qtum, this is actually, this surpasses Bitcoin in terms of low volatility, narrow range trading. This has been in a narrow range since August of 2018, and you'll see these magenta lines here. And it's been in this narrow range, and even with today's pump, it was not enough to close above this magenta level. Now, we will keep monitoring this, and I'll send out a trade alert if we do breach a major resistance level and it looks like there is a bullish pattern up ahead, there's definitely major profit potential on Qtum, over 500% of profit potential if it retraces back to traditional all-time highs, or to previous all-time highs. You'll see here 524% if it hits the all-time high that it saw back in January 2018. So there's massive profit potential on something like Qtum. But it's just a matter of, is it an optimal entry now, or will we see further decline before a move up? So keep your eyes peeled for the trade alerts. I will be sending that out. Anyway, that is it for this video. Leave a comment if you have a question or a comment. Hit that thumbs up if you got anything out of this video. Sign up if you want one-on-one coaching and help with your technical analysis, and or if you want access to the trade alerts. Stay safe out there. Peace.